hold on, let me get set up real quick. Let's see, get situated. Get all my mics and stuff set up. Almost there though. Just give me a little bit. Go. Open up the chat here, see what's going on. Give me a little bit. Good, okay. Cool, I can see the chat now. Alright. So yeah, just playing some Metal Slug real quick, just getting warmed up. It's actually one of my favorite SNK games. I used to play this in the arcade a bit. But I actually never knew it was sort of like SNK and almost all those hardware until years later. I always thought it was just some fun game in the arcade, but I never knew about the whole New Year's situation and never really paid attention much, to be honest. I just mostly just played the games and didn't really think much about it, which is good or bad if you think about it. I mean, I just games based on how fun they were, basically, instead of like, oh, this company sucks, or, you know, this company is garbage, or these games are the worst. Just some ups and downs. I mean, I'll take note. I was never really good at Metal Slug, to be honest, but it was fun regardless. Yeah, the only thing with this version is really laggy, I noticed. Alright, turn around. There we go. That. No, oh, come on. Roll the bombs there. They're pulsing up. Come on. Alright, let's try this then. I didn't realize how violent this game was. Oops.
Heavy machine gun. Thank you. Rocket launcher.
Oh, come on. I didn't even know there was a guy that came out of there. No, I can't keep. Oh, there you go. Thought I was gonna die for a second. Oh, come on. I can't make it through. Oops. There's a lot of loading screens on this game. Oh, let's do it easy. Kind of suck at this game. There's a level select though, isn't there? Come on.
Rocket launcher. Okay. Thank you. Rocket launcher. Rocket launcher.
Oh, come on. That's wrong with this control stick. I can't aim diagonally with it. Yeah, that's just the game. Shit. Oh, come on. Oh, why? I didn't want to jump onto a grenade.
Rocket launcher. Thank you.
I'll both be building with a gun. That seems legit. Die. Alright, so I guess I should get some people in here. It's a better to start than never. Hey guys, I'm Patrick. I just a programmer, just do a bunch of Saturn games. I've been collecting for a couple of years now, but I never really did a lot of Saturn stuff until recently. Actually, that's I guess where I'll start my Saturn introduction. Back in the old year of 1996, I never heard of the SEGA Saturn. Never even knew it existed. All I knew was all I had was the Dreamcast. Well, not back then. I had the Game Gear, but I didn't even know it existed. It was just the Saturn. I mean, just the Dreamcast. Well, I thought the console thing was the. I thought the consoles were the Dreamcast, then the Genesis, and the. Oh, sorry, this is really hard to play and do this at the same time. I always thought the systems went Genesis to Dreamcast. I never knew there was like a Saturn or anything in between it. I just thought, you know, it was just the Dreamcast after that. So I never knew about the Saturn. I did get a Dreamcast, but I guess maybe when I got it for Christmas, people like dismayed my parents to get me a Saturn. I was like, okay, maybe don't get that console. Get the Saturn, it's probably a better deal. So I guess that's what they did. It's like the Saturn instead, or the Dreamcast instead, and just skip the Saturn completely. So I never really got the SEGA Saturn at all, and I actually never really heard about it until 2005, when I went to a game store and someone was saying, "Oh, there's a Saturn called this console called the Saturn that's out." Like, what the hell is that? Oh, it's the Saturn, the system before the Dreamcast. And it's like, a system before the Dreamcast? I don't think that was right, because all I remember was the Genesis, the Game Gear, and the Genesis, the Game Gear, and the Dreamcast. But I slowly learned about it, and I actually never got a Saturn until 2015, when I saw it a really good deal and I decided to pick it up. I got this game in Virtuon. No, not this game. I got Virtuon was my first game for the Saturn, and it was pretty fun. I was really excited because I loved playing Virtuon in the arcades, but I just never had a chance to play it because I didn't really. I really knew it came out on the console, and I looked online, and apparently the Saturn was really the only thing it came out for besides the PC. So I picked it up on the Saturn, and I slowly just got different games for it as time went on. So I have I think about 25 games, and maybe like 30 or 40 if you count burnt ones. But yeah, I got titles like this, the Symphony of the Night, Resident Evil, Game Paradise, things like that. And I just really enjoyed the console. I mean, yeah, I mean the PlayStation definitely sort of won out, and I think it has a better overall better library. But I think there's a special place for the Saturn. I mean, it's just a really interesting console. I mean, just a very strange one. Not a lot of games in the US, but a lot of them in Japan, which I really care for. So most of the games I have are for the Japanese Saturn, not the English Saturn, the US and the Europe Saturn. Mostly due to price, though, not because I like them better or anything. Alright. So next time we'll switch over and we'll move on to the some of the other topics. Do some Game Paradise. Alright, so now we're going to play one of my favorite games on the Saturn, Game Paradise. Or Game Tengoku if you're Japanese, but I don't think you guys are Japanese at all, so I don't think you care if I pronounced it, but this is a really interesting game. My friend Justin, he actually brought this over for me when he got his Saturn imports. And I played it and I really enjoyed it because it was just so fucking weird. It's like the game's basically you're in a Japanese arcade and you have to fight all these different game references, and it's very interesting and very strange at the same time. I don't know why. It's just a lot of fun. It's strange as it is. But yeah, I guess your objective is to stop this game master or something like that. I really don't know. Everything's in Japanese. I can't understand jack shit. So yeah, and there's some weird games. There's this one guy that's like a Gradius sort of character. Got the flying girl, some robot mech, a pig, and some loli that you're flying around with. But let's do this guy. He seems kind of serious business. So yeah, my friend brought this over and we were all playing it, and there's this one weird part that really that came up. I think it was like on the 3rd or 4th stage. I was like, okay, I need to get this game. And it wasn't that bad. I think I picked it up for about $34. I think it's jumped up to like 80 or 90 now on eBay, but it's a really fun game. I enjoy it a lot, but it's really difficult, at least for me, but I'm garbage at shmup, so you know, that's probably one of the reasons why. Yeah, hold on, let's just set the I just want to set the auto fire on this thing so that way I'm not constantly hitting the button for a whole 5 minutes. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's a really fun game, and I picked it up. This my introduction. Really starts off. It just ends there. I mean, I've been collecting ever since this console. Even though I'm mainly Dreamcast collecting, I do like picking up some of these games once in a while, if I'm in the mood, of course. But yeah, I guess that's about it. Alright, well, yeah, let me, I guess we'll move on to the, reproduction stuff. So I've been noticing there's a lot of guys recently that are upping sort of the reproduction in terms of the SEGA Saturn. So it went from, I don't know, from a couple guys and a couple burnt games on Etsy to quite a couple number of people in the community. Which I know, which either good or bad, but I think for the most part it's good. A lot of people are helping out, making covers and things like that for the community, like little covers for the games. Like, I think one, for example, is the Police Knots that came out. I think there's a lot of guys that are that made like covers and disc art for it. I think David Lee is one of them made one of the covers for that. But it's really cool for a lot of those games that haven't been released or got fanned translations. But there's some other ones that are like for more expensive games and Japanese ones that have been released in America. I think Radiant Silvergun's a popular one, Battle Garuga. There's a bunch of really interesting mostly Saturn shmups or like games that haven't been translated that are RPGs. This guy's annoying, he's got to shoot you with fists. And I think for the most part they're fairly priced and they're really well done. There's just some issues I have with some reproductions, like some of them use like really poor quality disc art. I know I got one of my friends got a couple of repros and they're really low quality. Just I think from Etsy, like a really crappy disc art, really low quality discs that just don't run well, that aren't like silver or gold standard. You know, just basically burned discs from like Memorex scrap. But there's been a lot of high quality ones I've noticed. I think Key makes a couple of really high quality ones and pretty decent ones. And you know, but for the most part, I think it's really interesting. But in my preference, I really like the ones that actually go out of the way to make the ones that are actually mimicking the Saturn cases of the US. And I think a few others agree with me with that, because I just like the big cases, just like hefty, and it's like you're actually getting like something solid in terms of game development. And there's nothing wrong with people that just want like basic DVD cases or anything, but I don't know, it's just me. But yeah, I think for the most part they're pretty well priced. Some of them are kind of exorbitant fees, but man, I'm really bad at this game talking. But you know, for the most part, I think it's pretty well done. I think for people that don't want to spend thousands of dollars on Saturn games, I think it's a good choice. I mean, I think the only thing that you really need for Saturn is the that pseudo Saturn that you can burn for the flash ROM, or just installing a flash chip. But personally, I really just like doing the action replay pseudo Saturn. Just because it's a little bit easier to do, and you don't have to solder or anything. It's just a one and done thing. And you can buy some from people online, or you can just sort of make your own and flash it. But it's easy to mess them up, though, unfortunately. But well, it's easy to do if you don't know what you're doing. But for the most part, I think it's pretty simple and straightforward. So yeah, if any of you guys know any repros that you guys are looking for or want, just let me know. I definitely would love to hear what you guys think. Also, this is the boss that my friend got me into this game. It's just so silly. Just fighting some Enemu cat girl, but it's just so weird and strange. It's just weird enough for me to get. I'll just kill this girl. Actually, I don't really think you kill her. It's mostly you just gotta not die. You just gotta appease her, I guess. I don't know. It's really hard to follow what's going on because everything's in Japanese and nothing makes sense. Oh wow. Oh, I actually didn't know that. You can actually knock her out. That's actually the first time that's happened. I've never knocked her out straight before. Another thing I really wanted to bring up was some of the newer SEGA Saturn hardware that's coming out and being is in development. Because there's quite a lot of it. I mean, just recently I think they came out with the the Saturn emulation drives, which for those of you who don't know, it's basically you get a little chip. Instead that you get it's like a little replacement for the SEGA Saturn hard disk drive. Basically, what you do is unhook the SEGA Saturn drive. And you slide that in, and that way you can have like a little EverDrive for Saturn. The only downside is that it takes up the disk space, so if you want to play discs, you either have to switch it out or get a SEGA Saturn specifically for disc games and one for the EverDrive or the VIA games. It's the ones burnt on an SD card. And it's a really good option for those that have like dead Saturns that are just sitting around doing nothing. Just plug it in, you have basically a really good Saturn, because I know for a lot of people that have a Saturn, most of the problem with their Saturn is that the disk drive's dead. And really the only way to replace it is to either get a replacement drive, I think it's the Optimus 6S for the most part, or get that emulation drive. And it's pretty good. I think you need a pretty sizable SD card and just put any amount of games you want on it. And well, that fit on the space. But I don't think it's really that bad. I think they're only a couple megs for the most part. I think a couple of them are like a couple hundred megs, but I think that's really rare and in between. A lot of the ones I had are like only like a couple megs at best. I just think the thing that takes up the most space is just the music for the most part. All the graphics and stuff are pretty small. Yeah, there's that coming out, and of course there's the Professor Brace's the Saturn Saturn emulation drive, which is basically using the what is that called? Using the video CD format, little card in the back, and putting that in the back. It's like a little emulation drive for that. The same way the VIA works, where you put a USB drive in the back of it, or a USB hard drive, and that way you can just plug directly into it and have both the hard drive and the EverDrive at the same time. And that really is still under development. Hopefully it'll come out sometime towards the end of this year, or maybe early next year. But I think it's going to be a really big benefit for the Saturn community for the most part, because that way we can play the legit games, and just play the legit games on your drive, and actually play the burnt games that instead of burning the disc, just put in the back, and then you can save the top slot for just any game, any of the RAM drives or the memory cards. I think that really benefit from a lot of people, and I'm really hoping for that to come out. And I kind of prefer that over the VIA drive, in my opinion. One thing that I really hope that's coming out soon is really a HDMI solution for the Sega Saturn. Because I know there's a lot of them that are coming out. One for the Dreamcast that just came out recently. Actually, one today for the GameCube, the GC Video, where it's the digital out to HDMI. That's just like a plug-and-play solution. And that was really recently. It's only about really cheap too. It was $100 compared to the $300 Sega, the $300 GameCube cables. But that's for the GameCube group, not the Saturn group. But I think that's gonna benefit either either an HDMI port or a component port would be very beneficial. Because I know a lot of people really just want to have an easier way to use the Saturn, and I know RGB really isn't a viable option for most people in the US unless you have a PVM or a FrameMeister, which I know a lot of people don't have. So for the most part, I mean, I know they have the. I know one option you can do is that HC Retrovision SEGA Saturn cable. Basically, it's the Genesis cable, and there's an adapter you plug into it, so you can get component video and the RGB signal, and you can play that directly from the back of the Saturn. But I think for the most part, to future-proof it, I think an HDMI solution would probably be our best bet. And I know the Saturn doesn't really get much love, but I'm hoping maybe that's the next thing on everybody's list. See an HDMI Saturn. But only really time will tell. But I think eventually we'd have to come up with some solution. Maybe there'll be something where it's like the FPGA consoles, where it's a Sega Saturn FPGA, which would be pretty sweet. But that's far off for now. Yeah, but yeah, for the most part, I think those are really what needs to come out and what should come out sooner than later. So I guess I'll move on to sort of the import games versus the American library. As a lot of people know, there isn't a lot that came out for the US systems, and the stuff that did come out was really expensive. I mean, like a basic game like Dynamite Deca, I think it runs like $80 to $100, or Die Hard Arcade in the US version of that. But in comparison to the Japanese copy, it's only like a couple bucks, like maybe $8 to $10, maybe tops. I think I paid like $10 for my copy. Same thing with House of the Dead. That was another $200 game for the US, but in Japan, the same thing. It's only about $10 to $15. And it's the same game. There's not really much difference. It's all in English. Even the menus. The only thing that's added is the title, just the subtitles for the Japanese speakers. Yeah, but I personally, another reason to get is that there's just a huge Japanese library that's out already. I mean, there's just a massive amount of Japanese games compared to the US games. There's a lot of good stuff we didn't get, like Radiant Silvergun. There's this game, Game Paradise. There's Batsugun, Dodon Pachi, games like that, and they're just really cool. I know one of my favorite ones has to be this one, of course. It's the best game on the system. But and there's a really lot of easy ways to import for the Saturn. A lot of people think it's difficult, but for the most part, all you really need is an action replay to play import games. You don't even need to really modify it. Just get the action replay and just put in the game disk, and you can play it without any issue. And that's what I did for the most part until I upgraded to the pseudo Saturn stuff. But unfortunately, another thing with the import games that some of them can be very expensive, even more so than the English versions of the games. And some of them, like the RPGs, even though they're really cheap, like I think really all the ones are like cheaper than $10 to $20 for the RPGs in Japan. Just that they're really not easy for US speakers to play unless you know Japanese specifically. I know a lot of people really, they'll make it easy. There's a lot of guides online, but for the most part, it's a lot of effort to play that. You might as well just burn it at that point. But what are you gonna do? For the most part, I think we're getting closer to being able to easily do this and get a good Saturn library. Because I know people don't want to pay like $500 for Panzer Dragoon Saga or games of that extent. I know I sure don't, so any cheap option is a good option for me. Yeah, if you guys have anything else you guys want to bring up, just let me know. Ooh, this guy's difficult. Oh, quick. There we go. Man, I'm really bad at this game. What? Some weird ass game. Oh, I didn't know you can do that. Interesting.
わしの頭脳プレイにまんまと引っかかったようじゃのう。ほれ、再スタートじゃ。
ステージ1。
行くぞ。
Interesting. Here, I'll switch over games real quick. Alright, so I'm gonna play some Mega Man X3, see how that goes. Probably bad. I stay to one it is. Not a lot of options there. Now this game is interesting. It came out in the PAL region and Japan only, but for some reason it never came to America. Now probably because the game library in America was not that great and maybe a bad decision on what games to bring over. But yeah, I'm pretty sure this is a port of the PlayStation version, I think. I'm not like 100% sure, to be honest with you. But one of the interesting things about this game is that because of the heavy graphics load it has on this game, it requires that it makes it have a little border on the side of it. It's kind of dumb. This also came out on the Super Nintendo. And it was a little bit less, but a little bit less good, I guess. I don't know. It really depends on who you ask. But this one they added sort of more cutscenes into it, some cutscenes and stuff. And you can always get this one. It's very expensive in the UK, but in Japan I think it's only like a $20-something. And to be honest, you're not really missing much. The story isn't like fantastic. To be honest with you, like I mean. Most of them, I'm feel the same with all the Mega Man games that are fucking hundreds of dollars. It's like, it doesn't matter to me. So I just get it in Japanese, a little bit cheaper. I don't have to break my, give an arm and a leg and a kidney just to play these games. 'Cause I don't really give a shit about the story. I mean, it's a Mega Man game. You don't need Mega Man for the story. You play it for the cool gameplay. I mean, at least I do. Come on. Oh, come on. You can't jump, dash in the air. Alright, well, I'm gonna go play a game I don't suck at. Sorry about that. Thought I'd give it a shot, but it's not good.